Some children are rebellious and don't care what anyone says. They trust how they feel. These children are considered problem children and get diagnosed with ADHD, put in a special ed, or become shunned because they just won't lie down and believe the adults. These children don't care if they are accepted or not. So they are excommunicated, seen as a problem, and outcast from society. Why do we bury our gems instead of letting them shine? And a lot of us, I remember my parents used to be like, oh, don't say that, it isn't nice. But I would be like, it might not be nice, but it's true. Like in my head. And it's not always about being nice. It's about being honest. I know most of you, more likely than not, prefer someone to be honest to you than to be nice to you. Why don't parents ask, why do you feel that way instead? This would make more sense because the child will examine their emotions and learn to use their words to articulate how they feel. This would actually help them become healthy adults who trust their intuition, know how to express their feelings, and create boundaries. Certain people just have it in them never to lose that inner spark. Through all the struggles, other people making fun of them, being looked at as weird. If you are here, if you're listening to this, you are probably one of these kinds of people. Congratulations. You didn't let people steal your soul from you. You didn't let the system take you over. You felt something deeper, and that's profound, and you should be acknowledged and honored for that. If nothing else, honor yourself for that. As I spoke about in the beginning, fostering mistrust in society is huge and extremely divisive. Now, I've done a lot of studying on this. And what I found is that evil, what we perceive as evil is separation from each other, from source, or I like to call it the Great Mother, from its separation from each other. No matter where you go, no matter where you look at it, we see so many religions that have all these sects and are divided within themselves, that can rarely agree on anything, which is fine. You should be able to disagree with someone and not hate them. So we see so much divisiveness, and we're taught to argue from it in an emotional way without ever being taught how to actually examine how we feel. So you have a bunch of broken, mind-controlled people in society that don't know how to say how they feel and communicate with others how they feel. You don't have people who are coming from a place of not being triggered, and even though the idea is different, will actually listen to how someone else feels about something or to a different perspective. And instead of being triggered and being like, oh no, whatever, I just, I now have to argue with you, you're my enemy because you believe something different. It's just a mess. And the more I looked into it, and the more I've studied, and the more I've gone within and realized that we're just all one source. We all have that one aspect of ourselves that is like infinite love. And it is our true nature to be love. And we express it in different ways. So everybody's perspective is valid to some extent. And we learn not to respect ourselves and each other as divine beings. So, moving on, right? We're all that infinite love simply expressing itself in unique ways. And if we didn't have this beautiful uniqueness in every soul, then we would never know ourselves. That's the trick. Is that, yeah, respect other perspectives. Even your worst enemy taught you something about yourself, and you should honor them for that. And then when you get older, when you look back on things, you can just laugh about it and be like, man, I remember that, but I learned so much. I'm not even mad anymore. Okay, where were we going? Okay. I will tell you who to trust, right? I will tell you who to trust. It's simple. Trust yourself, not your logic or unbalanced ego. Trust the innermost part of yourself, your heart. We are told that trusting the heart is foolish and the heart is fickle. Nonsense. The heart beats before the first cohesive electric impulse is even conceived of in the brain of a developing fetus. Something else that's hidden, by the way. The ancient Egyptians, when they wrapped mummies throughout the brain, including your precious pineal gland, but the other organs in jars, put the other organs in jars outside of the body, put the heart back in its place. Why is that? They knew a secret, that's why. The heart is the center of wisdom, and the soul emanates from the heart chakra. They knew a secret, that's why. Oh, I said that already. Yet we have been lied to over and over again, being told not to trust our own hearts and inner knowing. They even have propaganda in many metaphysical communities that the pineal gland is the seat of the soul. How is this possible? When someone channels, they use their crown chakra and their pineal gland to send and receive messages. They may see with their third eye. But how are they discerning these messages? You can also receive and send messages through the heart. A little secret. But typically these messages can be discerned. These messages can be discerned with the heart chakra when it is open and clear. So most of the time, the traditional way is you send and receive messages through your crown via your pineal gland. Your pineal gland, and getting into state, getting into a certain. Every religion does this through prayer, through worship, through chanting. So it's basically meditation, toning. When I teach toning, this is just a different way of basically doing that. That you're not under a controlled system. You might even just remix it and create your own way of doing it. You know what I mean? And then I learned through channeling Thoth or Tahuti that we can actually channel through the heart chakra. And I've done that with the Great Mother many times, where I let her just come in through the heart. And, you can channel your own higher self and speak from that divine aspect of yourself through your heart, through your inner self. A lot of people don't talk about this. It's never spoken about. I don't know if they don't know that. I don't know if people are trying to be trendy. I don't know why. But I know that the more that I've meditated and become more adept at these things, the more I've been able to understand that you can channel your own higher self through your heart. You can channel source through your heart. Typically you're not. Now, when you want to communicate with other entities, spirits, angels, archangels, ancestors, and you can feel your ancestors in your body, though. Like, you literally feel them in your cells when you talk to them. And for that, you would typically use the crown chakra, the pineal gland, the third eye, that aspect. Okay. I said we are calling an apparatus that is sacred because it gives us communication with the spirit world, the seat of the soul. Yet when mummies are created, the brains are thrown away. I said there must be something else going on here. So like I explained, yeah, like that's beautiful. But once you're in the spirit world, first of all, you're not going to need your brain anymore. And you still have your heart if you want to come here and emanate forward. That's why they used to keep the heart in there. So if the soul would have its own gateway back here if they needed to communicate with that, individual, get wisdom from them or something like that. Okay. Why we learn not to trust in relationships. This is a big one that I noticed, and it's quite interesting. Now that we can clearly see how there has been manipulation and conditioning to make us not trust ourselves, I want to touch on an aspect of this I think is important: relationships. When two souls come together in a divine way, they become extremely powerful. Since society as a whole, on many levels, has been manipulated, even our first conditioners, typically our mothers, have been manipulated to some extent. We learn through multi-layered programming to not trust. When we try and research and explore information, we are given opposing ideas that split our consciousness, and since we haven't been taught different perspectives in school, we tend to lean one way or another. We don't trust or listen to other perspectives, and we are conditioned this way. You're never taught to listen to other perspectives when you're in school. If you noticed, there's never really an open dialogue. I mean, I was in debate, and like I said, I took a lot of different, I was always interested in everything. So I was in debate, so we actually learned how to, even though it was debate, you learn to listen to different perspectives in debate, because if you don't know your opposing argument, you can't argue against it. So I guess I trained myself, and Spirit just put me in the right place with the right school that had all these programs and amazing teachers. In high school, Spirit always puts you right where you're supposed to be. It's crazy. I'm thinking back on it. And when I say Spirit, I mean my higher self, but you're always where you need to be, even when you don't realize it. Okay. I said, add in the trauma we experience with our parents and through relationships, with victimhood being fostered and personal responsibility being rarely spoken about. We end up in a very, very broken place. Making our romantic partners our enemy when we are offended by them, and creating a list in our mind of all their flaws, and not seeing and weighing carefully the pros and cons of the relationship, or seeing the other individual as a sovereign soul. I've done this myself, and I looked back and I was like, wow, this was some deep programming. Like, we do that, and I was taught that probably through my own parents' divorce and society, and as I questioned it, I realized that it doesn't make sense to do that, to just make a list and this is what that person is or was. When people are constantly evolving, it's just not fair to them. It's not fair to ourselves. Okay. Why not, if our values don't match up with the other individual and it isn't working out, why make them our enemy? Why not have an honest discussion with respect from both individuals and leave the relationship peacefully? Also, I mean, this isn't really for people who are manipulative, who are deeply programmed and seeking to control others. There's no compromising with someone like that. They'll constantly seek to manipulate the situation. At that point, you're not really in a relationship. You're their pet, their object, and they want you around for some sort of particular reason. So yeah, just be aware of that. At that point, you know that you don't need to be in that relationship anymore. Whether it's a friendship, whether it's a family member, whatever, you'll know. You'll feel it. You'll see it, honestly. It's so obvious. And I said, well, we all have unresolved trauma from our childhood, overtly romantic movies and cartoons that never show us, we overtly romantic movies and cartoons, like the Disney princess programming, that show us unrealistic standards when it comes to relationships, never showing the struggle that sometimes must be endured and the beauty of enduring love. We are taught that our partner is our property, that we own them. When they violate us or don't do what we want, we throw them away before they can hurt us and throw us away, right? Treating each other as objects. We never learn to speak honestly and to compromise. Hey, this is what I can deal with honestly. You're not saying that just so don't compromise just because it's comfortable, honestly be like, these are the boundaries in our relationship. This is what I can go for. This is what I don't want to go for, and move forward from there and remain in your integrity. You're not integritous for the other person. You're integritous for yourself, because to not be integritous to your own values is a violation of your soul. It really is. And you'll feel a disconnect from yourself. You'll feel like as if you're not being yourself, because you're not. Out of fear. We never learn to express our emotions accurately and examine how we feel when we are children. We are never taught that some relationships last for seasons in our lives, so both souls can grow, and that it's okay to grow apart. Instead, we are bamboozled into contracts called marriage that create war when the season for this relationship is over, which is a natural cycle, and it is time to move on for the growth of the soul. Happily ever after is a fantasy that doesn't exist, and we are taught to find happiness in others and ignore the inner joy and healthy self-love, balanced self-love that is available to us at all times. How can we in this society ever foster loving relationships? Society doesn't support soul growth. It supports enslavement and pain. We are not property. We are souls and bodies, and we don't own anyone. When we haven't healed our own trauma, the heart chakra is already viewing the world from the hurt perspective of the inner child. And also trauma, when it's unresolved, it actually leaves you at that age that trauma happened. So you won't be able to deal with life beyond, say, the way a 6-year-old views it. It becomes more refined over time, but you'll literally be stuck in that aspect of your consciousness, which is fragmentation, which is a technique for mind control. So you actually get stuck in that aspect of your consciousness as your 6-year-old self, because your soul is still seeking to heal that 6-year-old, that wounded 5-year-old, that wounded 2-year-old even. So a lot of us are adults and are children in adult bodies, honestly. Striving with no avail to use logic to protect itself. So this is when we're viewing the world from the hurt perspective of the inner child. When we have toxic relationships and don't heal, we compare and use the same pain lens to evaluate all potential future partners, saying to ourselves, we won't let that happen again. You are a powerful creator, and if you focus on what you don't want, by virtue of you focusing on that with such powerful emotion, won't you undoubtedly create the same cycle again? So you're focusing on what you don't want, and you're focusing on it with a lot of emotion behind it. This is one of the secrets of manifestation that is not spoken about. Setting it though, set your intention. They don't tell you amplify the emotion behind the intention, right? They tell you do a visualization technique or say an affirmation, but they don't tell you to feel it in your body. If you happen to meet someone different, you may even see what isn't even there, and create a narrative in which you accuse that person of being the same as this ex or another ex. When we try so hard to protect ourselves, we miss the big picture. You never needed this logical form of ego protection when you were a child. You intuitively knew because your heart was light and you were connected to source. This has never went away. This ability still lives within you. You just have to heal the trauma, deprogram the bullshit society has fed you, and you will be able to feel into everything once again with confidence. Wouldn't it be nice to not expect something to go wrong, and instead of being triggered, being able to evaluate and ask questions? Don't you think it would be better to expect, not plan, but expect the absolute best from your partner and joyfully strive to honor them every day? What if you didn't care how long the relationship lasted or whether you would get a ring? That's a lot less pressure on both of you. Instead, what if you were excited about what your soul is about to learn and how the both of you are about to grow? What if you trusted the person from the beginning because you trust your inner knowing, your clear inner knowing, instead of making them walk on eggshells to earn your trust, and vice versa? Don't you think turning them into a possession is unhealthy? I'm asking questions here because it may be time to evaluate how we do relationships. Ask yourself these questions and make your own decision. What we have been doing up until this point, in my opinion, has been nothing but romantic fantasy, trauma clashing, and warfare. It's time to take the war out of love and make it sacred again. In order to do this, we must learn to trust ourselves first and foremost, opening our own hearts to the divinity and spiritual opulence that lives inside of us through healing and reprogramming ourselves with values that align with our own sovereign soul. All right. So that was important. I really don't have much more to say on it. I hope you guys just take some of that into consideration and go back and look at some of your own relationships and how you could have done things differently. Fear mongrels. Hey guys, what is up? It is Isabel here. This is just a little sample of what we are doing over at Patreon. I'm teaching a living course on spiritual opulence and creation magic. And we'll be diving into a lot of topics, and this course will exist until Spirit tells me I am done with this aspect of my mission. So if this recording happened to resonate with you, definitely get over to Patreon, become an all or nothing member, and, get these lessons. And you are welcome to stay as long as you want, to leave whenever you're ready. There's absolutely no judgment. You do what resonates with your soul. Stay sovereign, stay in infinite love, experience infinite awareness. Take care, guys. Peace.